Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new session with Code with Sally. The Code with Sally session run every week on Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And we run another session on Fridays, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, but in Arabic. Feel free to share the session details, the page details with anyone who may be interested to join. It's free of charge and available for anyone. I know we have a new crowd with us today, thanks to African Ohana, a lot of people joining us from there. So I will try to explain to you and give you a background first on who I am and what we are trying to achieve, what's the structure of the session. And after that, we'll go and start the expected or like the scheduled topic for today. So Code with Sally is an initiative that I'm working on myself. It's free of charge. My target is I love coding. I've been working with Salesforce since 2010. And even before that, I was a developer and coder with like C#, ASP.NET. So I love coding and it's my passion. I have master's degrees in computer science. And I love teaching. I was a teaching assistant as well at some point. I'm a lead developer. I'm a Red Woman coach as well. I was speaker in True North Dreaming here in Canada. So I love teaching and I love interacting with people and I love giving back to the community. So for anyone who's joining us today, welcome. I have my blog and I will share in the chat useful links that can help you be up and running with us in the session. You will find my blog for Code with Sally where I try my best. Now the focus is mainly on the sessions and live sessions, but I will get back to writing blogs and explaining things with writing because people sometimes prefer that over the YouTube or like the live sessions as well. I have for you the link for Code with Sally YouTube channel. I will encourage you to subscribe and follow the channel because I keep adding new content to it. The sessions we have are all recorded and will be available on the channel. The live session is a bonus because it gives you the opportunity to ask your questions and have like them answered on the spot. But if you are missing the previous sessions and you are joining us just right now, what you can do is to go to Code with Sally. Currently, we are working in the intermediate level for Apex. So we had before that the beginner series. So the beginner series you'll find in English and the same as well in Arabic. You'll find two playlists named beginners. If you click on them, you'll find that I'm sorting the videos by default from oldest to newest. So we have been a year running the sessions now. What you can do is that you can start from the oldest to the newest. And the reason why I encourage you to do them in order is that my concept in explaining things is always to start small and simple and then add things on the top of it. So you'll find us starting with what is Apex? What are the types of programming in Salesforce? What is variable? Then we move to conditional statements, then the for loops, then the data types. So you'll find us starting small and we keep adding on top of it. So it's very important not to skip topics. If you know a topic very well, you can for sure. But the reason why I encourage you to do it in order because you'll find a lot of information you need for the next video in the previous video first. So that's one thing. Today or now we are in the intermediate series. So you can open the intermediate series. We have a bunch of videos there. Again, if you start with the order, that will help you, especially we have, for example, 2 videos on Qubel, 3 videos on batch jobs. So you have to start, in my opinion, from part 1, then part 2, then part 3. So that's very essential. So you can refer to the blog, you can refer to the YouTube. Also, I added for you in the chat the link for you have the link for the Slack. I have a Slack for Code with Sally where you can join. We add the announcements for the session there. And also you can ask your questions as well there and I answer you. If you prefer LinkedIn, I have for you in the chat the LinkedIn page URL and also the developer LinkedIn URL and the page for Code with Sally link on LinkedIn as well. Okay, so keep an eye on the LinkedIn page and the Slack because we keep announcing when we have a new video or the session for next time what we have. The length of the session is usually 1 hour. Today we may go longer because we are giving this brief. It's once per week unless I have something and I have to cancel. We try as much as we can to have in total at least 45 minutes explanation with live coding and going deep in what we are trying to do and explaining it. And I try to keep questions during the session before and after. So in total, we can have a bit of time to discussing questions. And what we try to do from time to time as well, if there is a lot of questions and it's hard to cover all of them in one session, sometimes we take a decision that next session is not for a new topic, but we will have it as Q&A session and open discussion and answer all your questions if we have a big crowd with a lot of questions as well. So it's very important, my advice, don't be shy to ask questions. Questions are very important and there is no easy or hard question. I learn from your questions as well and other people have the same question you have. So please keep the questions coming and I will do my best to help you and support you the best way I can. Also, I have for you in the chat how you can create your developer org so you can have your org where you can try the code we are working on. And with every session, you will notice that I will publish the video recording. And also with that, I will have a link for the GitHub repository. Unfortunately, we didn't start that from day one in the first session. So some sessions doesn't have a GitHub repository, but most of them they have now. So you'll have a repository where you can find the code that will be running through during the session. And if there is any homework, I will announce it too. You feel free to do it and ask questions, send it to for me to verify. And I will do my best to give you a proper feedback or cover it in the next session to give everyone the knowledge that we need. Again, welcome for everyone who's just joining us today for the first time. Feel free to ask questions anytime. I'll try my best to answer you and I will guide you where you can find more details in a previous video, or I will give you at least the minimum information you need so you can follow along with us during the session. And at the end, I would love to hear your feedback and if there is anything I can do to help you more. Okay, so last time we ended the session. It was the video number 3 for the batch Apex. We ended the session with a question for everyone to think about. We saw how we could create a batch and we saw how the batch can be used and how it's useful for handling a huge amount of data, sorry, without hitting the governor limits. We left the session at the end with a question, we saw that we were going to the developer console and running the batch. What if it's not a one-time thing and I want my batch to run every day at night? I do a cleanup or I delete old records or I do certain logic that I need my batch to run every day at 1 a.m. at night. Would it make sense to give a task to a developer to wake every time at night at 1 a.m. and run the job for me? Does that make sense? Is it reliable? Does that make sure we have everything we need and that our batch will run as expected as per the schedule I wish that it runs for? The answer is no. If you do it manually, then it's not automated and it needs human interaction, and someone can forget to run it. We may not be able to do it. So that takes us to the topic of what we want to cover today. So today is a new topic in the series of the Asynchronous Apex. And for anyone who's joining us today, the Asynchronous Apex is a topic that we have been started to talk about when we moved to the intermediate series. So all the intermediate series so far is mainly about the asynchronous Apex. And we explained together asynchronous mean like it doesn't work in sequence, and we don't block the code or the thread from continuing and running our code while the asynchronous job or the asynchronous code is running. And that's part of a bigger picture of how we can invoke Apex. Like we have been learning before the intermediate series about data types, if statements, conditional statements, a lot of details, object-oriented, sets, maps, and everything. And we learned about triggers and utility classes and methods. And okay, so is it all how we can invoke our classes or our code? In the beginner series, we were doing this mostly with anonymous blocks. We learned towards the end of the beginner series triggers. And part of the intermediate is we are talking mainly now about the asynchronous Apex. Asynchronous Apex, and if you will go to YouTube channel, you'll find that we discussed future, queuable, batch, and the last type that we want to talk about the asynchronous Apex that run in a different thread, and it has its own governor limits, and it will run in the background without blocking the user and the interface to keep going, is the scheduled Apex. So the scheduled Apex is the topic for today's session. We'll try to cover it as much as we can, but I don't think we'll finish everything today. Again, please feel free anytime to post your question in the chat or to raise your hand or to unmute yourself and ask your question. I'd be more than happy to answer you. So what is scheduled Apex? So from the name, like sometimes, as we said, like you want to have a batch job that will run every day, or sometimes you want to run a class that will send an email once per week, or maybe you want to send a certain report by email the last Friday of the month. So sometimes you have such requirements that you have something in Apex that you want to run in a specific time slot or in a certain occurrence, like once per week, once every 2 months, once every last Friday of the month. So whenever we talk or have requirements in that sense, that should take your thought that, okay, that means maybe I need to use scheduled Apex. So scheduled Apex, from the name of it, that we can schedule an Apex class to run on a certain schedule or a timetable that you choose. You can choose that you want to run something daily or weekly or monthly, or as I mentioned, like you can have a more complex scenario where you want to run every 2 weeks on Thursday at 12 p.m., or you want to run it every last Friday of the month. So it depends on the requirement, but it's mainly whenever you want to run a certain Apex class on a timetable and you choose the frequency that you want to run it with. It's part of the family of asynchronous Apex. So if you schedule an Apex by clicking on a button, your button and your screen won't freeze until the execution happens. It's asynchronous. Asynchronous means like it will go to another thread and the button will open and say, okay, I scheduled your job, and you can close the screen, do another action. You don't wait for the response for the scheduled Apex. You do it asynchronously. It's something not happening sequential. So it executes asynchronously in the background in a separate thread. And when we do asynchronous, when we saw that with future method, queuable, Apex batch, everything that is happening asynchronously has its own like limits, governor limits, and that's something useful because we saw if we don't do that, in some cases you can hit the governor limits of Salesforce. So having something fresh that runs in the background with its own zero limits, starting from zero, and you keep building on it, that's something sometimes you will need. And part of those family is the scheduled Apex. With the future queuable and batch jobs, we saw together the use case of each. The schedule Apex, the main purpose of it, that you want to run something on a certain timetable, on a certain frequency that you choose. And at the end of the scheduled Apex, we'll try to do another comparison to explain like the difference between all the types of the asynchronous Apex in one screen. So we can have like some sort of a cheat sheet we can refer to whenever we need. So it's helpful for you to make a decision which type of them you should choose. Okay. Like we said, what its purpose, we said it's asynchronous. It's very useful. You will find that you're using it for maintenance. Maintenance mean deleting old records, archiving old records, maybe fixing data or filling missing values, or sometimes you introduce a new field and like sometimes people do data loader and they don't put a default value for it and you don't want to enforce it, but you want to clean the data ongoing. Or if someone enter US, you want to change it to USA. So sometimes there is some requirements and depending on the business you're working with. So maintenance can be an option to use scheduled Apex because it's not a one-time thing and you may be running it like once per month to make sure everything looks good and you fix whatever is needed. Reporting, you may need to send a report for someone end of month. Each Friday, the last Friday of end of the month, you want to send it. Integration, that's something else. Sometimes you have to pull latest data from an external system and you don't want to do this during the working hours and you want to do it during the night. So you want to schedule something to go get data from an external system, maybe every day at night. So that's something else. Sometimes you'll use the scheduled Apex for. I refer to it as scheduled Apex. When you open Salesforce documentation, you'll find that they refer to it as Apex Scheduler too. So sometimes you'll see people talking about it as scheduled Apex or Apex Scheduler. So like the two terms will match what we are talking about today in the session. So just keep an eye on that. Next, we want to see, like, we took an idea why we need it, or like, what is it? Then why would you need it? And when would you use it as real case scenarios? So why would you use it? You want to automate recurring tasks. I want to run something to happen every night at 1 a.m. You don't want to keep doing this manually and come every day and do it at the same time at 1 a.m. So that's one thing. You have a heavy job that you like a batch job that do a lot of calculations and update a lot of records, and it's very complex. And maybe the batch job chain or call another batch job to do something else, and you don't want those running during the working hours. You don't want to disturb users who are working in the org, and you prefer to do it when everyone is sleeping. So that's why would you use it too. It minimize the manual intervention. As I mentioned, human error. If you rely on someone to do something every day at 1 a.m. or to run a specific batch job at a specific time, maybe they will be late, maybe they will forget. So sometimes it's useful to delegate that to automation. So that's why we would use it. We can use them, as I mentioned, like to refresh external like data from external system. Like let's say you have another system where you keep your product list, like what are the products your company is like selling, and you want to keep the list of products in your org like recent and fresh and like latest, and you will be calling the external system every night to see if they have new products or they change the pricing of the products, and you get this data in Salesforce. So that's something else you can, why would you use it? As I mentioned, and that's the question we started with, you may have a batch job or queuable Apex, and you want to run it every day or every 2 weeks or every 3 days on a specific time. So you may use as well schedule Apex to do that for you. Real life examples that I saw, like we had a lot of like backflow missing data that you want to run at night, like you have data that comes from different systems, or they do data export to your Salesforce, and sometimes there is important data or default values, they don't fill it, and you are not enforcing those to be required, but you want to fill it with certain values. So that's something where we used in the past in some projects nightly batch job, and nightly, that means every night. So we had to do a schedule Apex for it too. Sometimes we want to send reports by email. I want to give like the manager how many opportunities were closed, the amount, how many accounts we created. So sometimes you want to do some reports and send it to the user by email, and you want to happen this like every Monday. So you want it to be as well automated. You don't want to remember every Monday be at 3 a.m. to do it, so the manager has it first thing in the morning. So that's another real case that where I had to do scheduled Apex. As I mentioned, lookup tables, products, or other like lookup products, like I would say I have in one of the projects where I'm working on, we are keeping a list of make models of the cars, and every like now and then there is new cars and new make and new models for them, and you want to keep the data in sync in Salesforce. So we call an external system to get the new values and update our lookup tables in Salesforce with the latest. Sometimes if you listen to the previous videos, I always say like sometimes you have exception logs, and sometimes you create then a custom object to create like the logs and the error, keep them in your org. But if you keep those for 2 months, will anyone will go back and look what was the errors or what errors did we have 2 months or 3 months or 6 months ago? No. So they would be useful for a week, for a month maximum, but after that, they are not like useful. And you don't want to keep your data to like consume a lot of storage. So you may have a scheduled job to run and clear old records for you. So that's something as well, like maybe every quarter you will do it, maybe every month, once per month. And the same like with external systems, sometimes you want this to happen daily. So you will notice that weekly, nightly, monthly, daily. So that refers that I want to have a timetable or fixed time recurring for something to happen. And that should like always, when someone tells you, I want to do this, then do I need to have a scheduled Apex should pop in your head, like to assess if that's the right solution for it or not. So that's very important. And that's just the introduction for like what is scheduled Apex.
Hi, Sally. Yes, I have a quick question.
Yes, for sure.
So I know that this is very, very similar to scheduled flow. Can you tell us some of the instances where we kind of use scheduled Apex over flows?
In general, like when there is a lot of things like even with trigger flows, like when there is an event happening on a record, you can do a trigger flow or a trigger in Apex. So that would be the same use case. What limits this for you would be more discussion with the internal team. I work with some teams where they say, like, if we have a trigger on a certain object, for example, I don't want to have a trigger-based work flows as well, because I don't want to split the logic between the two, and it will be hard to maintain. So sometimes it's a decision in terms of the team and how you are structuring your code base and your solution in general, and you want to follow what everyone is doing in the org, so it's not harder to maintain. The other thing is sometimes the logic is super complex and you want to do things that the flows won't support. So it depends on the implementation. Sometimes the flows will have limitations on what you want to implement to be implemented through the flows. And then you, in that case, you would say, okay, I need to do a scheduler in Apex. So it depends on the situation. It's always a discussion to have within the team and what you need to do. And it depends on the requirements and like the implementation itself, or what you need to do is supported by the flows or not. So the first thing we have to start with is to learn together what's the syntax. So we'll do a simple scheduler Apex. I will try to go slower than usual here. So for anyone who's new and for anyone who heard me talking about those before, they will follow along too. So the first thing is that we need to create a class. So I will create a class. I have it here for you. You create a class. I give it a name, a simple scheduled job. You can choose the name that you want. Now it's a regular Apex class, nothing else there. I need to tell Salesforce that, hey, this is something that I can schedule. Like I will allow this class to be scheduled. How to do that? By implementing an interface called schedulable. So if anyone who missed before what is an interface, you can go to the intermediate session and you'll find the third video here. We are talking about what implements mean and what's an interface. So it's very useful for you to check this code because we created even our custom interfaces and explained how to use it. But implement an interface, that means there is a contract, whether you create the interface yourself or someone like created it for you. Here, it's an interface that Salesforce created for us. So schedulable interface, if you open it, you'll find that it's a contract that tells anyone, if you want to implement schedulable interface, you need to implement the methods of this interface. This interface contract tells me that I need to implement only one method called execute. So we have to implement a single method that called execute. So let's go here and I put here implement schedule. So I tell Salesforce now that this should be, I should be able to schedule this class and use it as Apex scheduler. If I deploy now, it should, or it has to give me an error. It won't allow me. The reason why? The reason because I didn't implement the methods in the contract. So it will tell me that. It failed and it told me the class simple schedule job must implement the method void system schedule execute. So it tells me that I'm missing the one method that this interface and this contract is forcing me to implement. So in order to do that, we have to implement and add a method called execute that takes schedule context, and we can name it anything we want. And how we do that, how we knew that from the interface, and I took everything here as is. Like it's the signature of the method. It dictates to me what's the signature I should be using. So if I do here, this one, and it's empty, now I can deploy it to the org. It will allow me to save it because I have the method or the I implemented the contract, the interface. I have the method that this interface needs. So I do here public void execute, and I can use it now and do whatever I want. And for the purpose of this demo, like we won't be adding any complex logic. All what I will do is just add a debug statement. Later on, we'll see how we can call or schedule a batch or even to do our own logic as well. But for now, that's on the only thing that we need to do to have a schedulable Apex. So now we have created the Apex that is schedulable or implement the schedule interface, and we did whatever the contract needs, which is the execute method. This is the simple explanation of the logic and the minimum that you would need to have a method or a class that you can schedule it then. Okay, so that's like the simple logic. So as I mentioned, up to this point, we created a class, we prepared the class, but it's not yet scheduled. It's not scheduled, and we need to schedule it and see how we can schedule this and what's the expectation of the behavior. So we can schedule it in two ways. One way is the UI from the setup, and that's what we will try now together. You don't need to write a code. Like we saw when we were working with Cubo or Batch Apex, we were always calling from the developer console, like a syntax to run it. But in our case, we can do this from the UI to schedule it. We'll see it. You don't need to write any code for that. And still, Salesforce is giving us an option using Apex and Cron expression to schedule it from the code, and we'll see why we would need that too. And we'll try together how to do it in the session together as well. So something very important, because some people get frustrated. Sometimes you can schedule a job to run, for example, at 10 a.m. in the morning every day. And you go at 10 a.m. and you wait for it to run and it's not running. And you why it's not running? I'm expecting it to happen now. Yes, you can schedule it at 10 a.m., but sometimes there is some delays, and that's because it's asynchronous, and Salesforce will be waiting for the resources to be available to pick it up and run it for you. The same, we saw that with the Apex batch, Cubo feature, all of that, we were asking to run it, and sometimes it happened quickly, and sometimes we saw it's queued and we are waiting for it to run. So keep in mind that yes, you have a schedule for it and you want to run something at a specific schedule, but sometimes there will be some delays and it won't run at the exact time and minute that you asked it to run for. It may be run after a little bit. Sometimes as well, when you have a schedule, Apex like this one, you want to test it before executing it or scheduling it. Before going to the UI and the setup and doing a schedule for it, or you don't want to schedule it to run in half an hour. You don't want to wait to test it for half an hour. So how can you run it on the spot just for testing if you want to test your code? What we will do is that we'll go to developer console for anyone who's just joining us today. When you have your org, you will go to the gear here and you'll open developer console. And to run a code at the time, you want to run it and see it, you open debug, open execute anonymous. Here, I will try to run my code. How I will run it? I will run it by creating an instance from the class and then calling the method as if it's a regular class, as if it doesn't have schedule, and that execute is a normal method. So what I would do here, I have my class name, SimpleScheduledJob. I'll create an instance from it. Then I will call the execute method. I don't have the schedule context, so I pass it as null. That's just for you to test at this time, at this second, how it will run, just for your own testing before scheduling it. So now this will run. and I should see in the debug log the debug statement. So it tells me simple job is running. So that's just a quick tip, because I so sometimes get frustrated. People like they need to schedule it every time to run at 3 a.m. and they want to do the same schedule or do a schedule for it to run in half an hour, and then they go and wait for testing. If you are in rush and you don't want to schedule it to test it, you can go ahead and run the execute directly as if it's a regular class. So you use the class name, you create a variable, and you do an instance. It's an empty constructor. And then because it's not a static method, you do the object, which is the variable name, dot the method, and we pass here now. So that's how you can test it quickly. Now, let's see how we can schedule it. We mentioned we have two ways to schedule, one from the UI and one from the Apex and using Cron expression. So we'll start with the UI. So from the UI, you have two spots where you can reach the same. I will show you the two spots. One is that you can go to Apex classes and you can hit here, schedule Apex. So yeah, let me zoom in. And you can hit here, schedule Apex, and it will open for us this interface. I can reach this as well, but instead of looking for Apex classes, I can do schedule jobs. This interface will tell me, give me an idea what are all the scheduled jobs we have. We'll see it when we create one. And I can click on schedule Apex, and it will take me to the same UI. So there is two paths. Some people are more aware or like more comfortable with the Apex classes and then schedule Apex. But as well, you can go to schedule job and do schedule Apex. It will take you to the same UI. In this UI, first of all, we give here, where is it? Yeah, we give here a job name. So for example, we want to run something every day at 9 a.m., for example. So I can here say simple scheduler 9 a.m. I can give it a name that is meaningful for me. And I saw sometimes people say schedule 1, schedule 2. Like it will make it hard for you when you see the list of scheduled jobs to know which is which. So you can give it the name you want. And some people sometimes agree to say, okay, I will name it but with the class that I'm trying to schedule, and then 9 a.m. It's up to you what's the naming convention, but like have it at something meaningful. 9 scheduler, simple scheduler, 9 a.m. So make it useful and meaningful for you. Here, second step, you have to choose which Apex class we are trying to schedule. So you remember we created this class and we said up to this point, it's not yet scheduled. So we have to schedule it. To schedule it, we have to go and search for it. Here, we'll see only the classes that implement the schedulable interface. Like if I open for you this in, this one, I will deploy it. It's the backfill opportunity scheduler because I had it as schedulable and closed it. Let me refresh. I want to show you that it won't show anymore because I saved it. Now, if I go here, I don't see it anymore because it doesn't see that it has schedulable. I didn't save that I removed everything. So it shows only the classes that implement schedulable. So that's the benefit of this interface. It will let me choose those classes here. Then you have two ways. One is using schedule builder and one is Cron expression. The Cron expression is more complicated and we'll explain it so we know when to use it and why would we need it. But mostly you try first to achieve what you want using schedule builder. Here it tells you to choose like the frequency. Is it weekly or monthly? If monthly, you choose which day you want to happen, how many, like the first Sunday of every month or fourth Sunday of every month, or what are you trying to do, or on first day and so on of each month, or you can choose weekly and you can say, I want it to be Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, for example. You can pick and choose the dates. And you can say, I want it to start from now till, for example, a year. So I wanted to start on today and I wanted to end on that day. And you can choose the time. And you will notice here the time is on the hour, like 12 a.m., 1 a.m., and so on. Like you cannot say, I want 3:30 p.m. If you start to have such requirements and it's very important for you, then you have to go to Cron expression. If you have like more like conditions or like wishes to be done and you come and try to do it through the schedule builder, you won't be able to do it through it here because it's limited. Then you have to go to Cron expression. But I can do here the schedule and I can save. So now I have it on those days and it will run at 3 p.m. Today is Thursday, so let me remove this. So I will do it Sunday, Tuesday, and Saturday. When I will save, I can see that it will be scheduled and it will tell me that the first time it will run will be Saturday then, because that's the first time it can run. Let's try to save it. It will take me to scheduled jobs here, and you'll notice that the name that we entered is what we can see here. It's submitted by me, the user who submitted that. When I submitted this, like I just submitted this today, and then it will tell me that the next schedule, because I said I removed Thursday, and I said that the first day in the list would be Saturday to run. So under next run, it will tell me that it will run on Saturday, the 21st at 3 p.m. It's scheduled Apex and it gives me an ID. We'll learn more about the usage of this ID. What we can do here, you can delete it if you don't want it. You can pause it if you want to pause it for some time to ignore, or you can click manage if you want to change this. For example, I want it to be Friday as well. So the next run won't be 21st anymore. If I save, it should be on the 20th. And now I can reschedule. So the next run is on the 20th. Okay. So again, the best thing to do is to go to scheduler and try to figure out that you can make it work through what you have here from the UI. What happens in the background that when you save this, Salesforce will create a Cron expression for whatever you chose here. The Cron expression, you don't have to write it unless what you want to do is not achievable through the UI here. So you click on Cron expression and you can enter here what you want. Like it will give you a text like that, and it can tell you like what you want to happen. So here it give me the Cron expression for what I entered, that I wanted to run 0 seconds, 0 minutes at 3 p.m. and I will run it on like here the number of the days 1, 3, 6, and 7. So it converted that's the Cron expression that the scheduler, when you save, if you hit save now and reschedule, it will create this Cron expression for you in the background, but you didn't have to write something like that. And we'll learn, just for your own knowledge, we'll learn how to write it and what means, like how did I know that this is the 3 p.m.? How did I know that this is the Sunday, Tuesday, and so on? We learn the syntax for it in case you need it, but usually people try to avoid that and go to the scheduler builder because it's easier. So that's what we have here. Like you can, from the UI, you can go, we saw together from Apex classes or scheduled Apex. You give it a name and you click on the class you want to schedule, and then you choose the frequency. The common patterns or the easy way for you is to use the schedule builder and we sew together. If you don't want to use it and you are more comfortable with Cron expression or what you want to do is more complicated, then you will create your own Cron expression yourself. And that's something that I have planned to learn about next. But we are at time and it's a bit like not too complex, but like it will take some time to explain it. And I had a fun exercise or activity to like give you a Cron expression and you tell me what it means and or I tell you what we want to achieve and we try to write the Cron expression together. So we'll pick it up from there next time. We'll learn together about the Cron expression and how what is required and how to write it. We'll learn the syntax and what it means and the special characters you can use. And we'll try a couple of examples together. Then today we had an idea about the monitoring, and that's what we saw when we went to schedule the Apex. That's part of the monitoring. It tells you like what you submitted, when it will run next, and you can pause, delete, or manage. So that's something as well we learn together. So next time we'll start with the Cron expression. We'll learn it together. Then we'll move to learning how to schedule it through Apex, because the Apex, you have to know the Cron expression, and that's why we need to learn it. It's not just because we're in the schedule builder or the UI, you cannot do what you want, but as well, like you need to learn it because if you need to, like from the code to schedule an Apex job, you need to learn how to write your Cron expression because you would need it. So we learned that, and then we'll see together how we can schedule a batch job, how we can write our own syntax and schedule. Hopefully, we'll see how we can call an HTTP callout as we did with future, queuable, and Apex jobs from the schedule Apex and what we need to add or do and unit test classes. And at the end, we'll do a quick comparison between future, queuable, Apex job, and scheduled Apex. So we'll try as much as we can to cover the most of it next time. Hopefully we can get it done. If not, we'll have to split it, the schedule Apex into 3 sections to cover everything and not to rush it. So again, thank you so much for everyone. I hope it was useful and you were able to follow. If you liked the session, please, when I upload the video, like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel as well so you can watch the previous sessions. After I stop the recording, I will stay with you. If you have questions that you want to take offline, I'll be available for you to help. And there is no easy questions or hard questions. I'm happy to answer everything you want. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us today and anyone who's watching offline. And I will see you next Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time.